also watch tonight's edition of the program. Share as many times as you can. Those of you watching us on Facebook, for other people to also watch tonight's edition of the program. My name is Justice Appiah, and tonight on Hot News, we are discussing the Yentua demonstration. You know that the e-levy has generated a lot of issues. It has generated a lot of controversies in this country, from Parliament, where you have members of Parliament engaging in a brawl on the floor of Parliament over, the approval of the levy. Up to now, we don't know. It's still hanging, and we don't know what becomes of the e-levy going forward. But some, concerned Ghanaians today have held a massive demonstration in rejection of the e-levy. We'll be bringing you some videos and all of that. But the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, at one of his town hall meetings, has served a notice that we are not going to IMF. He has also expressed shock over rejection of the e-levy by some SHS graduates and wonder why they reject it and if they know the implications of their rejections and all of that. We'll bring you some other videos pertaining to this. But before then, let's go and watch the coalition of concerned Ghanaians, demonstrating against the introduction of the e-levy. Let's listen to them. We'll be right back.
20 or thereabout, it will still show that you are showing sensitivity to Ghanaians. And we are believing that even the taxes that we have paid, they have not been able to utilize the taxes to tell us how much, in terms of infrastructure, has our taxes actually given out. How many hospitals have they built in 5 years? How many schools have they built in 5 years? How many roads have they built in 5 years? They have not been able to demonstrate to Ghanaians that the taxes that we are paying is put to efficient and effective use. So we are saying that if you cannot account for what we are already paying, and people are being strangulated as a result of ever increasing prices of goods and services. We are buying fuel at about 35 cedis a gallon. And it is, you are all journalists. You go to work, you pay transport. Those of you who use vehicle, you buy fuel. And you know how difficult it is to put body and soul together. So in situations like this, you don't have to strangulate us the more by imposing this draconian tax, which for me is not a tax. Because if I work and I am paid, and I earn an income and I want to spend the income, you cannot tax me on the income that I'm spending. If, for instance, we are all encouraging a cashless economy, and that is why I, for instance, have loaded money on my bank account. And so when I'm going to buy the same item and you want me to pay tax because I'm using a card, then what I'm going to do is that I will take the cash and go and deal with raw cash, and the whole concept of cashless economy will be defeated. Look at the Minister of Roads. At the time that you are crying that you have challenges of revenue, you have gone to remove toll booths, and we are losing millions of Ghana cedis every day. What is the prudence in this? And so the government is not demonstrating goodwill towards Ghana, and that is why we are saying that we will not pay the e-tax today, we will not pay it tomorrow.
Call that in less than 6 years, this government alone has received over 222 billion in loans. The government has not been able to show us any major interventions they've done with this money. If you ask them, they will tell you that they are suffering because of COVID. Then you ask yourself, when you look at COVID gave Ghana over 25 billion Ghana cedis. From the money given out by IMF to World Bank to all the institutions, it gave us over 25 billion. So you ask yourself, if 25 billion did not develop this economy, if over 200 billion did not solve our problems, how can 6 billion solve our problems? So clearly, government is not being truthful to the people. Now, my second major issue is that it seems government is throwing dust into the eye of the public. Because I read a report yesterday from a magazine called Votes. From this magazine, the magazine analyzed mobile money transactions for only last year. And when they strike 1.75% of only mobile money transaction, it gave us close to 9 billion. does not include bank transfers. It does not include foreign remittances. So government is not being truthful. Even when government said that the money they intend realizing from Momo, the e-levy, is 6 billion. So this government has consistently been lying to the people. And you see, you are taking the people for granted. Can you imagine that in the height of displeasure, this government did one of the most preposterous things yesterday, when the majority leader in his party could use e-levy as a cake, which is very, very insensitive to the plight of the ordinary Ghanaian. And today, they said that without e-levy, the government will collapse. So it tells you that they have catastrophically run down our economy. Today, our economy is in the ditch as a result of the crass incompetence of the Nana Akufo-Addo Bawumia government. They have run the economy aground. Today, all rating agencies, Fitch, Moody's, Standards and Poor's, they've all downgraded country. This is the worst downgrade in the history of our country. Now we have not moved to C. That's the last category of the grading. You see what shame they have brought as a result of their incompetent, crass mismanagement of the economy. This is where we are today. And so they are trying to shift their incompetence over to Ghanaians. That Ghanaians should pay for their incompetence, when we should be punishing them for their incompetence.
How far are you going to go to ensure that your protest is heard by the government?
I can indicate to you that this is a protest of Ghanaians, and it will go on across the length and breadth of the country. This is not the last. Ghanaians will be on it to show their revulsion at the actions of this insensitive and wicked Nana Akufo-Addo government, that they won't even listen to Ghanaians. When people are crying, surveys have indicated over 90% of Ghanaians don't want this tax. They don't want it. Why is the government forcing to impose the tax on the people? And we in Parliament on the NDC side, all the 137 members of the MPP, NDC, we are standing strong, and we have indicated that under no circumstance are we going to support the passage of the levy. We will not. And so that signal must resonate across the length and breadth of this country. And I can tell you that various regional capitals and others would replicate it, and to show this wicked Nana Akufo-Addo government that they will not lie low and allow them to impose this hardship on them.
This action is just one of the many or series of protests that we will be organizing to show to the Akufo-Addo government that enough is enough. They have gotten away with so many things. The corruption, the reckless expenditure, the issues of insecurity, even killings, they have gotten away with it. But this e-levy is just the point that we have gotten to where we say that enough is enough. The government has stolen so much from us, so much, that the good people of Ghana cannot breathe. The good people of Ghana have been choked with so many levies, so many taxes.
Were some of the scenes from today's demonstration. You've listened to the national chairman of the National Democratic Congress. You've also listened to Member of Parliament for Madina constituency, Honorable Xavier Sosu. You've listened to Member of Parliament for Sagnarigo constituency in person of Alhaji A.B. Husseini, as well as the National Deputy Youth Organizer of the Opposition National Democratic Congress in person of Edem Agbana. But the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, at a town hall meeting has served a notice that we are not going to IMF. We need to generate the revenue here domestically. He wasn't even listening to the demonstrations that was held by a certain Ghanaians and all of that. Let's listen to what he said at the town hall meeting.
We are not going to the IMF. Whatever we do, we are not. The consequences are there. We are a proud nation. We have the resources. We have the capacity. Don't let anybody tell you. Like when Joshua, Caleb, and the 10 others went to spy on the promised land. And only 2 of them came to say that we can do it. And the 10 went around the community murmuring, you can't, da 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 da. We are not people of short sight.
So that was the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, right there. Let's still stay at the quarters of the Finance Minister, where he has expressed shock over rejection of the e-levy by some SHS. To the Finance Minister on that. But don't forget that these SHS graduates also use phone. They do transactions and all of that. If it will affect them, they also have their voice. They need to talk about it. Let's listen to the Finance Minister.
Pay for it. So if I look at e-levy, for instance, and I say that, well, this year we intend to collect 7 billion cedis. And I look at mobile phone subscribers, and there are over 21 million of us. So assuming I divide this 7 billion by 21 million of us, that means it's about 300 CDs a year for each person. Divide by 12, 25 CDs. So when I see the energy, especially with which graduates that we are making, who have gone through free senior high, are against e-levy, I ask whether they are calculating what the cost is. And I ask, well, in truthfulness, that does any graduate make what? More than 3,000 or 5,000, you know, assuming you are a graduate and you will be paying 100,000 cedis a year, and you transfer all of that through Momo, how much would that be? 10% of 100,000 is 10,000. So a third of that is 3,000. So 3,000 cedis for your roads, for your free education, for all of that, and you are up in arms. So ask, I mean, truly, who should be paying for it? You have every responsibility to ask me to account for it. But we as a people, we can't pretend, you know, that we don't need these resources to do what we are doing. And no graduate makes 100,000 cedis a year. So if 100,000 cedis, they are going to be paying 1.75. I mean, what is the argument about? That you are saying that the state has done nothing for you since you were born, and so therefore I shouldn't contribute. And that
was the final. You know, SHS graduates will reject the introduction of e-levy, and if they know the implications of their rejection. But have you seen the designed e-levy birthday cake yet? The celebration, the Gangantuan one. Let's listen, let's watch that. That was the celebration for you. That was the... Awal is laughing, but that was the designed e-levy birthday cake. You know, they are not even listening to what people are saying, what Ghanaians are saying, what some civil society organizations are saying, what some other political parties are saying. They care less about the ordinary Ghanaian and their concerns with regards to the e-levy. They are saying that, look, we are celebrating our birthday with the approval of the e-levy. They have designed a gargantuan e-levy birthday cake. I believe you've seen it. I'll play that once again before we end the program. But some time ago, Honorable Isaac Adongo said something on the sister station. Let's listen to what he said. When we come back, I introduce my guests for the discussion. Let's listen to Honorable Isaac Adongo.
There's a very nice old movie that was acted in Nigeria.
Air Force One?
It was called Piccadilly.
Oh, really?
You've watched Piccadilly?
I haven't.
Okay. Piccadilly.
It's a beautiful movie.
Yeah, a young man left university. And for several years, the young man was unemployed. He roamed the whole of Nigeria looking for a job. He didn't find one. One day he arrived home and told his father he's found a job. The father was excited and sat the son down to ask him, what job have you found? The son won't tell the father. The father insisted for days. Eventually, the son opened up and told the dad, I want to be an armed robber.
Oh?
Yeah, I want to be an armed robber. The dad did everything to convince the son. After he failed, he gave his son a 5 and told him, I am a retired, successful armed robber myself.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. Okay? But having decided to follow my footsteps, I will teach you the tenets of armed robbery so you can be successful. And he taught the son 3 things. He said, first, always wear a white dress. Always wear a white dress. He said, second, quote the Bible as often as you can.
Oh, please.
And third,
you are cracking me up.
And third,
please.
And third, I'm being serious. Piccadilly, you can watch it.
Yeah.
And third, I'm summarizing the story.
Yeah.
And third, play gospel music. And when you do, play it so loud, your neighbors know you are playing gospel music. When you are caught, your neighbors will defend you as Krifi.
That you are not an armed robber.
Yes. Today, we have Piccadilly armed robbers in our financial sector.
I don't know.
And we know them.
I don't know about that.
But
I don't know about that.
The collapse
Piccadilly armed robbers.
Yes, that's what we have now. Who roam in white dresses and quote the Bible. That's what we have today. And when they do, people defend them because they look like pastors. Look, what has happened in the banking sector is the most wicked activity that any group of people could have orchestrated. And this was a master plan activity to bring people who they cannot catch up on their knees. You see, ask yourself, Ken Oforiatta at Data Bank was flocking with his peers. Dr. Indum, Kofi Amoaben, Mike Hinaku, Dr. Dufour. How come all of them have become evil and he's an angel? Birds of the same feathers flocking together. One is now an angel because he has power, the rest are devils. Please, we are not kids in this country. But you see,
you have been talking about evidence.
Well, that was Honorable Isaac Adongo. So credit to TV3 and Metro TV for those videos, actually. And that was Honorable Isaac Adongo some time ago when he made a statement. And that statement you've listened to for yourselves and all of that. I've been joined in the studio by Awal Mohammed, who is the head of PR at YA. Awal, good evening. How are you doing?
Good evening, my brother.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Right. Also in the studio is one of the leaders for the Yentia demonstration in person of Ishak Audu. Ishak Audu is also the communications secretary of the PNC.
Hey.
Good evening, Senior.
Good evening, Justice Appiah.
Wouldn't it be any contempt?
It's been a while. Contempt over what?
You know the PNC, you don't know who is the general secretary now, you don't know who is the national chairman.
Well, his position is still intact. So
well, you don't know, I know.
He's been voted
because
for.
My brother Muniru says he is now the acting national youth organizer.
Well, it does not lie within the mouth of one person to decide that.
I'm only asking whether that's the case.
Right. So I'll start with you, Ishak, because you are part of, the leaders for the Yentia demonstration. Today you demonstrated vigorously against the introduction of an e-levy. What are your reasons?
Well, Justice Appiah, let me use this particular platform once again to commend the thousands of Ghanaians who turned up in their numbers for us to, in one voice, send a very clear and loud signal to our President, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and his government, as far as this monster of a tax is concerned.
Right.
Indeed, ever since this proposal of introducing or imposing an electronic transactions levy at a value of 1.75% in Ghana was presented to Parliament by the Honorable Finance Minister.
Right.
Jay, you would agree that a vast majority of the Ghanaian people do not think that that is the best way to go. As a country, we are already saddled with a lot of hardship and a lot of misery for that matter.
Right.
And we have been told that we are building a cashless society. We are moving away from the cash society to a very cashless society.
Right.
Where we are encouraging people to resort to the use of electronic means in as far as transactions are concerned. We are also told that we need to engage in what people call financial inclusion at the micro and at the macro level, economic levels. That means that anybody at all who finds himself within any sphere of our society should be able to, as it were, access such electronic means of engaging in any form of transaction.
Right.
And so we have come to realize that this particular tax and the incidence of the burden that it is going to put on the average Ghanaian is not something that should be tolerated. And indeed, Jay, you are aware that the minority in Parliament has on countless occasions taken a position that this particular tax must not be allowed to pass.
Right.
They have given a number of reasons why that should not be. We have seen that people engage in the electronic transactions in the money mobile transaction value chain have expressed similar sentiments. They think that this is a tax that will collapse their businesses. It is going to affect people's pockets. It's a tax that would rather result in financial exclusion rather than financial inclusion. And so we think that the president and the government must listen.
The government also think that, well, we don't need to go back to IMF in order for us to go and borrow with conditions and all of that attached to it. Well, we can generate revenue in this country to take care of the problems we have in this country.
Well,
that's a laudable one.
Justice, I don't think that after 5 going to 6 years in government, this is a government that we should take whatever they say seriously, because this is a government that has said a lot of things and have backtracked in as far as some of those things are concerned. Just as you are aware that prior to the assumption of the reins of government in 2017, you can bear testimony, and our viewers can all bear testimony to the kinds of things that were said, especially by Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, our vice president, and sometimes the president himself. They said that this is a country that was blessed with so much. It was rather unfortunate that we find ourselves where we find ourselves, and they thought that it was an issue of leadership. They said that we had all of the things, all of the goodies capable of turning Ghana into the country that everybody wants to see. At that particular point in time, they were not talking about the imposition of an e-levy. Indeed, a little over 4 months ago, just last year, October, when our vice president was interviewed at Peace FM, he was loud and clear. Everybody heard him. He didn't have water in his mouth when he spoke. He said that it will not be prudent to tax mobile money because the poorest of the poor are engaged in mobile money transactions. And so you don't want to introduce a tax that would lead to the imposition of more hardship on people who are already reeling down there.
But to government, they have already excluded the poor, because if you do up to 100 cities, you're not going to be taxed. Another argument they have espoused,
well, if we,
is that they have communicated to, or they have bargained with the telcos. They are ready to reduce, their service charge by 25%.
Just as what is the definition of the poverty line, the internationally accepted definition of the poverty line today? It is not somebody who can afford 100 Ghana cedis. You understand? And so what it means is that that is just something that is being thrown in there to confuse a lot of the people.
But the Western, but the Western, no, I please allow. I'll give you your time. You respond to some of but you respond to some of those things. But the Western Regional Minister, Kobe, has indicated that anybody who is able to make more than 70 Ghana cedis a year is not poor in this country.
Well, Justice, you see, when we talk about these things,
when we talk about
these things, we deal with indices.
Okay.
Indeed, Justice, if you look at the economic indices that we have and the prevailing economic situation that we find ourselves in, you know that even 70 cedis a day, to a very large extent, depending on somebody's situation, may not be able to do so much, not to talk of 70 cedis in a year. I would not want to understand how a regional minister would want to think. My good friend, Kobe Ochiridaku, would want to think that if you are able to earn that amount of money, you cannot be considered a poor person. And besides that, we are saying that if government wants us to believe that indeed they are committed to judiciously and prudently using the resources of this particular country in the interest of the good people of Ghana, in the last 5 years, government should have been able to do that. It will not only have to take the imposition of an e-levy to prove to us that this is a government that is committed to standing up to its mandate of delivering all the goodies that they have promised us.
Now, Ishak, I mean, with what you're doing, you know, rejecting the approval of the e-levy, demonstrating against it, making sure that he didn't see the day of light and all those things. Are you not preventing Ghanaians or denying Ghanaians, you know, access to employment, potable water, roads, and all of that, just as mentioned by this government? That look,
Jay,
this e-levy will go a long way to help finance some of these projects they've talked about.
Justice, help in doing what? Look, in the wisdom of the managers of this particular economy or the country for that matter, we have introduced what we call statutory funds. In the areas of health, we have the Natural Health Insurance Fund. We have the Ghana Education Trust Fund, GET Fund. We have the District Assembly's Common Fund. These are statutory funds which are earmarked for specific sectors of the Ghanaian economy. Monies accrue as and when that money is available. Can we ask ourselves whether we have been able to allow for the monies that accrue into these statutory funds to be channeled into the purposes for which the funds were specifically created? That cannot be said. You understand? And so, if you also go and take the budget statement for 2022, and you look at the appendices of the budget, you get to understand that we are going to have a budget deficit. Because projected revenue and the expenditure that we would engage in, we have an expenditure that outstrips projected revenue. So already there's going to be a deficit. And so when you come and you make it look as if the 6 to 7 billion that we will realize from the e-levy, if unfortunately we are able to pass e-levy into law, is going to be used to be for something productive. I mean, that Justice Appiah, that is a deception, because already our revenue is not being put into that particular use. And so let people not be confused about the fact that people are saying that we are going, e-levy will be responsible for the development of our roads, for under expenditure and all of that. No, we are going to use it jobs, as usual. Jobs for where? Where? I am just telling you that the projected revenue from e-levy is part of the 2022 budget. Yet there is a budget deficit. Where would that money come from? Where will it come from? Go and take the budget, the budget statement for 2022.
It's left to like 20.
You understand? And so,
but I'm moderating. I know the time I've given him. We've done just about 28 minutes. And with the videos I played, so allow him. Go ahead.
And so, Justice, we are not in any way attempting to stranglehold government. We are not in any way attempting to frustrate government. We are simply saying that, look, government must listen to the concerns of the ordinary people. But these roads that you want to bring, they are meant for the people. So if the people say that, of course, we don't disagree that we need roads. But how we will get that roads must be on a consensual basis. You cannot want to impose a lot of hardship on us simply because you think that you should give us a road.
But have you taken into cognizance, I mean, the fact that this government has also faced, I mean, one of the worst pandemics, I'm talking about COVID-19. I mean, we have not even recovered from the ravages of the COVID-19 pandemic and all of that.
And are you?
You should expect that government would need revenue because we've already lost a lot of money with regards to this COVID-19 issue.
Government has been very disingenuous. Very disingenuous to the extent that government is running away from accountability. If the government wants us to believe that they have been bedeviled with the ravages of the pandemic to the extent that the economy has been strangled to this particular extent, why is the government running away from that responsibility of accounting to the people? Just as you are aware that up to now, government does not want to give an audit of what has happened to all the COVID funds.
Right.
Government is running away from parliament. Parliament, the minority in parliament on countless occasions has called for an audit into the COVID funds. Just as you are aware that about a week ago, the IMF or is it the World Bank, they spoke and they said that they had given government a certain amount of money, which was underdeclared, because government all along was quoting a certain figure. Meanwhile, what they have taken is far more than that particular figure that government has been quoting.
Right.
And so, if you look at all of these things, how can we trust government that if indeed they even get the 6 to 7 billion as the projected revenue from the passage of an e-levy, government will be accountable, government will be judicious, government will be prudent enough in as far as what they are telling us they are going to use the revenue from the e-levy is concerned.
I'll come back to you. Viewers, you are still watching Hot News right here on Pan African Television with me, Justice Appiah. You can join in the conversation by sending in your views, comments, and contributions on our WhatsApp /text line. We'll make a time and read all those messages out for you. You can as well share the Facebook Live for other people to also watch tonight's edition of the program. Now, let me go to Awal Mohammed on the issue of the Yentua demo and if government is actually shaped by the demonstration, if government by this demonstration would consider, you know, what Ghanaians are saying and withdraw the e-levy from Parliament.
Thank you so much, my brother. Good evening to our viewers, and thank you so much for this opportunity. Right. Yes, government is still doing consultation, and I know that the law will be withdrawn and relayed in Parliament again. Right. So consultations are still ongoing, and I was surprised you played a lot of videos without playing Akamba's video. You know, Akamba will give you a lot of things to laugh at. I am not surprised Kwakubaku once called him an unmitigated disaster for the NDC.
I see.
Because if Akamba can speak on TV and say that they will demonstrate until Akufo-Addo kill himself, I think he's really an unmitigated disaster for the NDC.
Now, what's wrong with him saying so?
That said, I think my brother Ishak, well, the viewers will have to tell
right, okay. Because
my brother
Ishak, President Akufo-Addo,
I don't know if you said this thing to just for sinister reasons, or maybe you were only exhibiting some ignorance about how budget is done. Can you tell me any government since this Fourth Republic that had read a budget without a deficit? None. Since this Fourth Republic. None. So when you tell us that because we have budget deficit, so it means we will not be able to give jobs and so on, then you didn't even read the budget. maybe you only heard.
But I
what
know that
people were
there's a
saying.
budget.
Excuse me.
No, you called me ignorant. Justice, you didn't say anything.
Yes. You ignorantly said that.
Justice, you
so
didn't
if you
say
can
anything.
answer, which government and which year, which government did a budget without budget deficit in this country?
So now he's answering.
Let me answer him.
Just yes or no, just a year.
So are you saying that?
Just tell us which government has done that.
Ask me a question. You cannot determine how I answer your question. You cannot determine. I said what I said because at the time that your president now wanted to be president, he knew and he said
so
that he was not. He was not coming to run. He was not coming to run.
On how budgets
he was not coming to run the economy on a deficit. President Akufo, so are you saying President Akufo was ignorant?
Because
was he ignorant?
Because
he said when he knew that in the Fourth Republic, he knew that in the Fourth Republic, Akufo ran a deficit. Mahama ran the deficit. Akufo said he will not run a deficit.
Mahama ran the highest.
He's not my Mahama.
He's not my Mahama in the history of this country.
Akufo said he will not run a deficit. Akufo said he will not run a deficit. I'm taking him by his words.
That has been clarified.
He said it.
He has asked you a question.
Fado said it.
He didn't say it anywhere. He didn't say it anywhere because we were saying that the budget deficit of 2012 was the highest in the history of this country, 14%.
What if I'm able to prove to you that he said that? And
Fado said it.
So if my producers have that video, kindly get it for me. But go ahead.
So I think taxes are not really generally accepted anywhere in the world.
Right.
There's no way in the world that you say people will be happy.
But you've not answered. Indeed, if President Akufo-Addo said so, was he ignorant by saying that?
Why wouldn't you allow me build my point?
Okay, so
when you give him 20 minutes
right,
to rant?
Go ahead. I'll give you your 20 minutes.
But I'm building a point, but you have started interjecting.
Okay, so go ahead.
I am saying that taxes are not generally accepted anywhere in the world. No country in the world will tell you that government will roll out taxes and they will say, we appreciate, we'll pay the taxes, there is no problem, and so on. And there is no country in the world that has been run without taxes.
Okay.
You can't run any country without taxes.
Okay.
World over, we are all facing challenges. And the EU is even contemplating on introducing 3 new taxes.
Okay.
The UK is saying that they are warning of harsher periods ahead. The US is really under debt and they are still borrowing. So the Ghanaian economy is no exception.
But did you know that prior to the 2016 election, when you promised Ghanaians that you were changing the economy from taxation to production, a government that is interested in changing the economy from taxation to production wouldn't be introducing taxes, on the good people of Ghana?
When we came in, we abolished 17 taxes.
But you have introduced taxes.
How many?
Including e-levy.
How many of them? How many? Count. We have abolished 17. How many did we introduce? Again, governance is not an event.
Okay.
It's a process. When we say we want to win Ghana out of taxation to production, it is a process, not an event. And the process is that we have started the 1 district, 1 factory industrialization. That was what we told the people of this country. When we do industrialization, we'll do a lot of production, and Ghanaians will not pay more taxes if we are able to do that. So we are doing it. We are winning Ghana from taxation to production. But we moved in and we had COVID. And I'm telling you what is happening elsewhere.
But COVID, you received a lot. In terms of COVID.
We have also paid a lot for the first time in the history of this country. For the first time in the history of this country, we ran elections that we paid ourselves.
Right.
No government in the history of this country has able to run an election without external support. We paid for them. You think that we got the money from where? So we have spent a lot during this COVID
How much have you received
I cannot tell you
during
offhand.
COVID, and how much have you spent out of that? Now,
I cannot tell you.
No,
I cannot
there's
tell
a
you.
deficit.
If you allow me build my point,
Okay, then
I'll
you
be
can
happy
go ahead.
because
That's fine.
this is not part of the topic.
Okay.
What you're just asking me how much we have done it. You can just wait, get a time. Let's come and sit down and talk about maybe debt.
That is all right.
Exactly. But if I am building my point and you are trying to interfere and ask me questions that are outside what I am saying, I don't know how.
Once
I will
COVID
be able
is
to
used as a yardstick,
So I am saying
invite
that
some of those questions for the discussion to be very clear.
I am saying that,
but you can go ahead.
COVID has come, and it's a pandemic, and every country in the world is facing challenges with this COVID. Ghana is not an exception. We have been complaining that our debt is unsustainable, and we are saying that we'll all expand the tax net. Go and check almost all the budget, the manifestos from 2008, just recent, 2008 up to today. Almost all the political parties will tell you that we'll expand the tax net. How do we expand the tax net for everyone to get involved? E-levy is one of them. When you're able to introduce this e-levy, you get a lot of people to pay directly into the national kitty. So if you get someone who on one breath is saying that you have borrowed enough, one person is telling you that go to IMF and borrow. The person is only telling you that he wants you to fail. Because we have seen when IMF was running this economy under Mahama, how the economy was run aground. I remember when Dr. Bawumia, in 2015 or 14, went to Central University. At a lecture, he said the way former President Mahama was running the economy, he will have to run to IMF for a bailout. Former President Mahama said he is a liar, they will not go to IMF. A categorical statement that they are not going to IMF. It didn't take long for him to come and tell us that he has lost cue on how to even govern this country. So Ghanaians should come and support him to teach him how to govern the country, because Yawi Namna Manaka Dompe, he said it. They've eaten everything in the economy and nothing is left. He took Donko and others to Senche. They at the end told him that the only thing you can do is go to what Dr. Bawumia told you, go to IMF. They went to IMF. IMF took over the management of the economy because they were almost running everything. They told them to put a net freeze on employment. They were not employing. And we had a lot of graduates who were unemployed, to the extent that Unemployed Graduates Association of Ghana was formed. Our GDP growth ran from about 14% to 3.5%. Inflation moved to 15.5%. This is an IMF economy. And you are telling us to go to IMF when you know that this 6.9 billion, we have earmarked what we'll do with it. Then you start. I'm happy.
What do you intend to do with it?
We said we'll use it in 3 critical areas. We'll service the debt to some of a fraction of the money. We'll construct roads, because we have stopped the collection of the tolls, and we will be able to do the U-Start. You remember, last 2 weeks or last week, we were sitting here when the NDC MP came with a U-Start diary. With a U-Start, because this is something that they have been run through. They were told how the U-Start will operate. Now the U-Start, what we'll do is that we'll make sure the youth who are interested in entrepreneurship get some start-up cash so that they are able to also work. So if you tell me that I shouldn't do this, but I should rather go to IMF, and the IMF will only give you, the highest they can give you is 1 billion, because when Mahama went there for bailout and policy credibility, they gave him $918 million. With the $980 million, it took him 3 years to draw, because it was in tranches. So if we can sit in our country and still generate an amount of 3.6 billion over 3 years,
and you think we should go for a loan with conditionalities that will tell you that don't spend on social services. We've been to IMF for like 12 times. And the rolling structural adjustment program, they asked us to sell all our companies. We sold all the companies, and none is working now.
Are there not other alternatives of generating revenue for this country?
Tell us if there is any way aside from taxes. Tell us.
But even
if you know any way that we can do it and every Ghanaian will pay.
Even in widening the tax net, you could have still looked for other alternatives.
This is what we have. And we think it is the ideal one to do. So if you know any other way that will be able to get every Ghanaian to pay. The
ideal one is imposing more hardship on the good people of Ghana. That's what you want to do.
No. There is no tax that is generally accepted. There's no tax in this world that is generally accepted.
Says we've lost 12.3 billion.
That is a lie.
Ghana cedis.
We didn't lose that amount.
The question is,
we didn't lose that amount.
Surcharge those people.
We didn't lose that amount.
So how much have we
lost? Around 2 billion.
I see.
Yes, because
so what about the 12.3 billion?
12.3, around 10 million is went to. It's something that they are recovering. It's an amount of money they are recovering. It is there. Unless you didn't read the Auditor General's report, I will just remove it here and I give you item by item.
If you not lost anything, what are you recovering?
I am telling you, these are things that went into
You just said here that we not lost that. We didn't lose that.
It is in debt. Are you, if you are recovering something from debt, have you lose it?
Have you recovered?
It's up to Auditor General to say it.
But if you recover that, don't you get
they have been
6.9 billion
closed with the powers to do surcharge.
So
and they are doing it.
If you retrieve those monies, those debt, are we not going to get more than 6.9 billion?
So you get 6.9 billion and it's one off. E-levy is 6.9 billion this year, 6.9 or more next year, 6.9 or more
we are losing monies through misappropriation.
So we will not lose it again because we are doing digitalization. Now, you laugh it off because if you go to the passport office today, you pay direct, you don't pay through anyone.
The Guru boys are still there.
They are not there because I went and renewed my passport just about a fortnight ago.
I can tell you somebody who had his passport in the day.
Well, it is you.
Yes, you can still have it.
The person didn't get it through the right channel.
You can have it in a day.
The person didn't get it through the right channel.
Yes, but there are areas that people can do. But I'm telling you that generally, if you go to DVLA, there are no Goro boys because you can register everything in the comfort of your home. This is something that we're using to curtail the corruption in the public service.
Okay.
So, if you are telling me, go to IMF or go and retrieve some cash, and this is something that will come every year, and you're telling me that, no, don't do that. Go and borrow. When you borrow, it will be added to the 344. It is not something that you borrow and you say that that's all. You're borrowing, when you can generate and give employment, when you go and borrow and he will tell you, don't spend on social services. I was building a point when you even interjected. When Wallace went for the structural adjustment program, they told him to sell the state-owned enterprises to private people. He formed the Divestiture Implementation Committee. Almost all the companies were sold. Now they are all churches. Almost all the companies that were sold, they are now churches where these big churches are built in Accra. Those that are left, like Gihok and so on, are doing well. So it is neo-colonialism. I am telling you this because they came in the first place, did colonialism, took our gold, took our human resources and sent it over. Now they are using the Bretton Woods institutions to do that. Why will you come and tell me that don't employ people within the public service?
But since when did you know that?
I have known this all this while.
When I'm talking about the MPP, the New Patriotic Party, because in opposition, one of the things you talked about is going to IMF and the fact that you were going to exit IMF. You didn't exit IMF immediately after you assumed office. In fact,
and we are telling you, we exit. Oh, but we cannot exit immediately. Where
was the money President Akufo-Addo was talking about?
We couldn't exit immediately. We came because it was a 3-year extended credit facility. We came in 2017 and it was to end in December 2017.
President Akufo-Addo, prior to asking Ghanaians to vote for him in
Yes.
2016.
Yes.
This was a statement he made.
Yes, so we will not go to IMF for any bailout. We will still generate it here.
The money we are sitting on is the e-levy, introduction of e-levy.
It is taxes and our human resources that we have and the resources that we... But he didn't also tell you the breakdown of the Tsikaso Ayetiso. Did he tell you that? It is the taxes that we are not collecting. It's part of the money we are sitting on.
Do you know the reason why I'm saying that?
I am telling you that
introduction of taxes.
Why would you infer? Why would you infer that he's not talking about taxes?
Talking about introduction of taxes because he told Ghanaians
he did not
change their
he did not. He said it is Sikaso. He said it is Sikaso ekom there. We are sitting on taxes we are not collecting.
And in one breath he said we'll change the economy from taxation to production.
And we are in the process of doing that.
Reasonable Ghanaian would have thought that an MPP government
We
led by
have
President
over
Akufo-Addo
100 companies now running under 1D1F. We are doing that.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm saying that.
I'm telling you that we are moving from the taxation to production because we are doing the one district, one factory.
Wait a minute. A reasonable Ghanaian would have thought that an MPP government led by President Akufo-Addo and Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia wouldn't introduce taxes based on what they told them that we will change the economy from taxation
if not
to production.
For COVID,
that statement was made. It was premised on the fact that the previous government had introduced certain taxes you described.
So you ask yourself, in 2017, 2018, 2019, did we introduce taxes? You ask yourself, because COVID is there. I'm telling you, EU is EU. This is a perfect society. They are introducing 3 new taxes. EU, because of COVID. And I'm telling you that when we came in 2017, we abolished 17 taxes. In 2017, we didn't introduce new taxes. In 2018, we didn't do that. 2019, we didn't do that. In 2020, because of COVID, we have to do it. It is a bitter pill that we have to all swallow. So you think that we should just sit down and go and be borrowing? To go to IMF and borrow so that it will add to our debt.
Today, one of the fine brains of the New Patriotic Party.
He is wrong because when he tells us to go to IMF, I'm telling you, he is wrong because IMF will only. We have been to IMF in 2015. They gave us 1 billion, and we need 6.9 billion. They gave us only 300,000 every year, and we need 1.2 billion every year, which we can generate.
So you don't care. The incidence of that 1.6 billion.
Because we are using it on the Ghanaian. No, we are using it on the Ghanaian.
You must be concerned about
how completed university will get something to do. You must not go to IMF for them to tell me don't employ that your brother.
Okay.
Akufo-Addo will not sit down for IMF to tell him not to employ. Or after employment, wait until 2 years and you pay 3 months. That was what Amanama was doing. We will not allow that to happen to this country.
One last question. I'll come to you, Shaq, for you to respond to our while, and then I'll go back to our for us to wrap up. Now, one last question. Ghanaians are saying that
some section of Ghanaians, because I'm a Ghanaian, I'm not saying what you're saying.
Some section of Ghanaians.
He has not said what
Ghanaians are saying.
You have not yet said it. How do you know that you didn't say that?
I don't agree with what
some section of Ghanaians are saying that this government has gone in for a loan. You've contracted a loan in excess of over 200 billion with nothing to show. Allow me to finish my question. With nothing to show.
Yes.
And then, of course, some other donations and all of that we have received and all those things. You have not used that for anything significant that they would see. Now, there is
asphalt here. There is asphalt here. There is asphalt here in front of you. There is asphalt here. There is asphalt here in front of you.
Asphalt?
Yes, asphalt overlay in front of you here.
Are you aware that this asphalt?
I'm telling you that. I am saying that there is asphalt overlay here. Initially, when I come here, it is not like this.
Initially, it was in a
it was not like this because we would not have constructed it. It was not like this. That is why we constructed it again. Again, fortunately, you have very good producers. What's the name of that Muslim lady? She can get
Latifa.
us. Yes, Latifa can get us former President Mohammed's video. When he said that, he said it categorically that there is no single loan that he has contracted from anywhere in the world without it passing through Parliament. So if I hear a parliamentarian saying that there is nothing to show,
I should only tell him that he's only making a mockery of what former President Mahama said about their work.
Apart from the road just here you mentioned, what do you have
Free
to
senior
show?
high school is there.
But you are not financing it from, you know that you are not
But you
financing
said we
it
have
from the
gotten a
loans.
lot of money.
No, I'm talking about loans, and you are financing free
Yes.
senior high school policy from the all fund. You are not
Yes.
financing it from the loans.
So the elections that we conducted with our own money, where did we get that money for?
Spend on the elections.
Where do we get that money from?
Borrowed about 200 billion. How much
The banking sector revolution. How much did we spend there? Over 20 billion there.
That's self-inflicted.
Not self-inflicted, because the value of consolidated Bank of Ghana today is bigger than the 20 billion.
Right.
It is state-owned, fully, 100% Ghanaian. It is an investment that we have done, and people are there working, and they will go to pension working there, unlike when they were even in the private sector.
Right, I'll come back.
Will you keep someone till the person goes to pension? But we have Consolidated Bank of Ghana, which is 100% Ghanaian.
I see. Right, thank you so much for your submission. So kindly give me 10 more minutes. I'll wrap up right away. Oh, you have 5 minutes to respond to a while.
Well,
Ishak, you have 5 minutes to respond.
well, Justice, I am not a fan of the IMF.
Okay.
Just like Awal said, I don't believe in some of the conditionalities that the IMF imposes on us.
Right.
But this is the same institution that prescribes solutions, and at the end of the day, it rather compounds our situation. But when Awal says that people cannot refer the MPP government to resort to an IMF bailout, I want to disagree, because people are not necessarily saying that you must go to the IMF and go and borrow.
Right.
They are asking you to go to the IMF because the kind of borrowing that you have done, when you go to the IMF and they give you money, the IMF controls how you spend that money. So the 240 billion that you have contracted in the last 5 or so years, since Akufo-Addo became president,
right,
if it was from the IMF, we would have known what you would use the money for. It would not be unbridled borrowing. The IMF determines what you will use that particular money for. And that is why it comes with conditionalities. So if people see that you are borrowing recklessly, you are borrowing in a very unbridled manner, they would have no other alternative but to ask you to go back to the IMF, because the IMF would control what you use that particular money for. Besides that, people also think that the government should be able to cut down some profligate expenditure.
Okay.
Some of the things that we are spending, the 240 billion that we are borrowed on, people are not comfortable with it.
What did they spend on that wasn't a fruitful
Right.
venture?
The first thing that comes to mind is the decision by our president to keep flying in a rented jet, paying £14,000 an hour. And as we speak now, Justice Appiah, I cannot tell for how long the president has used that particular jet. He has used it for a very long time. Probably it's for a long lease. And so, if we
for a long time.
Well, yes. So if we are...
Your propaganda is more than even...
Well, this is not propaganda. Everybody knows that the president has been using a rental.
And for how long?
I say I cannot recount.
Right.
I can't recount. So if you know, you tell us.
So how many trips has he?
I say I cannot recount. But I know that the president has used it on a number of occasions.
But what's wrong with
propaganda?
with the president flying in the
cost benefit analysis?
No, but
is very important.
if the president and Awal, they want us to believe that this is an economy that has been ravaged by COVID, and you are telling everybody to tighten their belts.
Right.
You are telling people to brace themselves up for tougher times. You must live by example. You understand?
Right.
The president should not be flying in a rented jet at a time that we are all crying that things are not being so good. And so if we are able to cut down on some of those profligate expenditure, it will release resources for us to be able to do some of the things that we want to do. You know that in this particular budget, allocations to most government ministries, departments, and agencies have been slashed. That of the Office of Government Machinery has rather been increased. You understand? And so if you are cutting expenditure, budgetary allocations to every other ministry, department, or agency, what is so special about the Office of Government Machinery that you would have to increase allocation to that particular unit. And so when Ghanaians complain that it is possible for us to be able to realize the kind of resources that we want to realize, to be able to do the things that our Lenko wants us to believe the e-levy would help us to do, these are some of the concerns that people are raising. And these are some of the alternatives that people think that if we are able to resort to some of these alternatives, at least we'll be able to do the things we want to do. And not to want to heap more hardship and misery on the people simply because you think that you would get money. As for me, I keep saying that the e-levy is only but the low-hanging fruit. There are other revenue sources that government is not exploiting. Government is simply interested in something that they will just go in for, sit comfortably and do whatever they want to do with it.
So you think that it's a lazy way of...
I say it's a low-hanging fruit that government has gone in for.
Where low-hanging fruit?
The viewers will decide.
Right, thank you so much, Jacques, for your submission. Now, let me come to you. I will not interject. I will not ask you any question. The very last question I'm asking you is that people are of the view that, in fact, you have now chewed and even chewed the bones, right? And so you are now looking for an avenue to generate revenue for this country. And in fact, even with this, people are thinking that you are likely to even collateralize it. How true are these statements emanating from, some good people of Ghana?
Yeah, this is just pure fabrication, and
because to them you have collateralized everything, including the human beings in the country.
Well, I think that's your worst. I doubt if they have really said that. But before I come to that, there is something that the NDC and the opposition people, because I don't want to refer, he is the PNC person, have been churning out that Office of Government Machinery has been increased, the budget has been increased. Under the Office of Government Machinery, it's not Akufo-Addo's office alone, or Bawumia's office.
I didn't say presidency.
I am saying it because this is what they have been saying.
Right.
So just to tell people that about 17 institutions are under the Office of Government Machinery, including Ghana Ace Commission, including MASLOC, and other agencies that are under the Office of Government Machinery. So it is 17 institutions under the Office of the Government Machinery. That is taking the 3.2 billion that he will want to talk about. Yes, it's not too much because that is how the allocations are done almost every year. Now, the cut down on expenditure. Yes, we have said it that almost all the ministries must cut down on their expenditure by 20% because we do not have the right resources. No one is going to collateralize anything. We have said it in clear terms that this e-levy will be like MASLOC, or will be like a get fund, where you know that it is channeled towards educational infrastructure. So this e-levy is going to use that, roads and debt servicing. This is what the money is going to do. So we will not go and that is why
give me 3 minutes. Give me 3 minutes. I will land, then I wrap up.
We will not go to IMF for them to tell us don't spend on social services. We will not go to IMF to still compound our debts. We will still generate the money here so that we're able to help our youth, the youth that are churned out of our universities every year, will get something to do. No one will force us to go to IMF. Since we're going there, they will give us all these conditionalities and so on. And we're not ready for these conditionalities. We have seen what IMF had done to former President Mahama. They sent him to opposition because they moved every economic indicator into off gear. When 2016 he was leaving, but it was the IMF that was running the economy at that time. So what good will IMF do to the people of this country when they will come at this point in time when we need about 6.9 billion to make sure that the youth get employment, to make sure that we continue our roads that we have constructed. We have constructed the roads more than any other government in the Fourth Republic. There is no single regional capital that has not been completely asphalted. It's from the Upper West region.
Not true.
When you go to Upper West region,
that is not true.
Almost all the roads
you are lying.
asphalted.
You are lying. There's no single asphalt road in Wa now. Since MPP came to government,
stop the lies.
Since MPP came to government,
in front of YEA office,
since MPP came to government, do you know the difference between sapit and asphalt? Do you know the difference?
We haven't done any road.
You said asphalt.
Asphalt over there. Asphalt.
Justice
I said you are lying. Asphalt. They were.
Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Don't annoy the people there. We have completely.